Next up, we have Zaktact's Kill Sin, Lie to God, and Intro to the World of Cain. I was only told briefly in live chat yesterday that this is going to be a setting that I'm actually going to hate. But Zaktact's really good about pointing out really awesome things about some of the more obscure gaming mechanics and gaming systems. So I might not like the game itself, but I'm probably going to enjoy his take on it, just based on the previous experience with his channel. What I'm saying right now is, in advance, just subscribe to this guy and leave a like. It's probably going to be good. In fact, I'm just going to do that right now. Oh, I didn't subscribe. Let's pretend I had already subscribed after the last video. I thought I had. Oops. That's embarrassing.
Beneath the crushing weight of humanity's entire existence lies a roiling black psychic sea, holding all of the memories, wants, needs, desires of all of human existence combined.
Yeah, we call that Twitter, dude.
Most don't notice this, it going by passively in the background behind what we consider reality. But there are occasionally
He's not making my point any less valid.
those sensitive to it, those that can interact with it a bit more, seeing things that they claim as ghosts, spirits, auras. What's worrying is there are things in that sea. The great stain left by humanity, sins, not just wants or...
Okay. I see why people say it's not my type. I'm with them on that one. But that is kind of beautiful art in all the fucked up ways.
Actions, but an entity that has formed from a traumatic event from a psychically capable individual, that if it's allowed to grow will eat flesh in space, killing thousands. And it's the job of Cain and its exorcist, psychically capable individuals trained to kill these sins until the stain is wiped away.
So you're literally killing sin. Okay.
Hi, hello, and welcome to Cain, a tabletop RPG where you play the most bombastic of exorcisms.
Oh, so you're literally Oh my god. Someone asked, what if the exorcist was badass? That makes sense.
Or in another sense, just take these three things together,
Persona 5, SCP, and I don't speak Japanese, but I don't recognize it either.
throw them in a bucket and shake it around a bit. But yes, another creation of Tom Bloom, the author of Kill 6 Billion Demons and the creator of Magna Gothica, Malagast. But outside...
Oh, I actually saw that one right before. This is the other thing I knew from him. And I think people did mention he did do Kill 6 Billion Demons. I remember reading a bit about that comic, and it's fascinating and not really my art style, oddly enough, but very fascinating and kind of cool.
Outside of that very fanciful intro, basically summarizing one of the first pages, yes, sins are a physical thing, great psychic sea, you play a psychic exorcist. All under the ominous, omnipresent, extra-governmental organization, Cain. A killer symbol, by the way.
Yeah,
now, as per
the
usual,
Rock.
onto the history of the setting.
Also the creator
or
of
what
Lancer
brief
as well?
bit we get.
Holy
Now,
shit.
the setting is the usual bits like World of Darkness where, hey, it's our world, or at least something adjacent, modern. The big focus on the world building of this is within Cain itself, the whole organization. On to what you play first, you play as an exorcist. Someone usually picked up during adolescence when their sin seed forms and their psychic manifestations begin. Now, the sin seed is a physical thing that denotes that you have grace. Grace being the thing that allows you to actually see everything, interact with all of this. Partly why graceless individuals or the mass of humanity can't see sins. But
I mean, probably safer for them because I'm assuming. Huh. It does seem a lot more like Limbus Company now that I think about it, because it is a bunch of sinners killing sin.
during adolescence, a sin seed can form, taking the physical shape of an angelic, maybe devil figure. Looks like it's something in a fetal position in any case. Either in your brain or occasionally in the heart, which the heart one just makes no sense. You have a...
Unless it's playing into the trope where people thought the soul was kept in the heart and other people think it's in the head, so probably belief-based?
Angel demonic figure in your head. That's... It's really cool. But Cain finds you, picks you up, trains you up, and you are now an exorcist. And in their words...
Okay. The samurai nun with the hard eye patch and the bunny or rabbit or bear ears. That goes hard, man. That actually goes really hard. I kind of like the aesthetic even more than Magna Gothica or Malagast. That is awesome.
Working off your stain by going out on hunts to execute sins with a early 40% survival rate for...
Wait, 40%? Fact, 40% of exorcists do not survive long enough to be rated category 3. Death, not survival. Oh, damn. Also, Ori, thank you for the donation for the goal. Honestly, we're literally halfway there right now. Not bad.
First-time exorcists, that's not a good percentage. And to further clarify, you are not necessarily in charge of Cain or a full part of Cain. You are a tool under Cain. Even
Oh.
within the organization's eyes, exorcists are not human, deemed under the Concord of Worms in 1720.
Exorcists are not human. Dude, so you're literally the disposable meat shields.
That's, we'll briefly touch that. But taken from adolescence, brought into this organization, trained to be a killer, and likely gonna die as an expendable.
Yeah.
It's great. It's just a good feeling.
There's a joke in there about being a Boeing employee, but I think that's too on the nose.
You're not just trained to hold back these psychic manifestations so you don't make sin, you're trained to use them and focus them into 12 blasphemies. You're equivalent to like a class, almost, which we'll be touching on those later. But to the organization that takes, houses, trains, and kind of sends to their death, executioners, Cain. Now, the history of Cain begins with a series of hermetic orders roughly around the 1600s that were combined into the first naming of the organization, Cain. Primarily founded around using exorcists to kill these sins and keep it all under control.
Who
Less in
runs
the
it,
idea
then?
of some kind of balance and more just kill sins. We're not here for a long-term solution to any of this, we're just here to kill when a problem comes up. But as the centuries continue on, the original foundings have been forgotten by the rest of everyone, but still vaguely known by higher-ups, again.
This very much feels like the SCP Foundation. I guess that's why he referenced it early on. It does have that feel to it.
Similar to other just mysterious extra...
Oh, Uri. You love how I pronounce your name different every time? You're welcome. I'm just eventually throwing one out there. One of them will be correct. I'll never be right again, but at least one of them will be right. That's my approach to most names.
Governmental organizations
Hey!
enter here. I mean, they get
CP.
their funding from somewhere. But going from those hermetic orders to now having an
assuming
orbital
theft.
space station called Seraph, with a system for rods from God attached to it, Cain's come a long way. So
Okay. Yeah. That is a thing.
in the modern time, it's divided into 4 different sections, each of these departments kind of questioning or wondering about the other with multiple secrets hidden between them. It's not truly top-down. There's a lot
So there's Authority, Temerity, Seer, and Castle. I'm assuming Authority is the space-based one then.
of different separate projects going on and secret agendas and investigations. At least they all agree, mostly, that their goal is to wipe away the stain. It's just the process they go about it. So
And who's
firstly,
the
at the
stain?
top, we have Authority. Now, Authority is the smallest out of the 4, only being made up by 8 members.
Oh.
But they're the ones in charge. They're the council members at the very, very top. All their identities are hidden, with new members being selected by succession and a secret vote by the remaining council members. Now, while the big thing is usually just their authority in all matters revolving around Cain, they do have some other minor details that we know of. That they have an upper 4 and a lower 4. The upper 4 being all normal humans, and the lower 4 being extremely powerful exorcists. But
Oh. That's actually surprising to me. The upper 4 being powerful humans, or humans, okay, sure. I wasn't expecting exorcists being allowed in, be the entire "you're not human" thing and how they're expendable. I'm assuming the explanation is going to be because they are so strong, saying no would be unsurvivable, and it's better to have them there because having the nuke on your side is better than not. But the fact that there's still 4 humans, though, is also surprising in its own right. What do they have leverage-wise to make that happen, other than the 4 who get in are powerful enough that they're fine with other people doing the day-to-day?
due to its secretive nature, even this is left a bit vague internally within Cain, whether that's
It might also
true or
be a
not,
threat.
But the people in charge. Next up is
Don't risk
Seer,
it.
namely the people stationed on Seraph, but also the general
they're the ones in
intelligence
space.
network across all of Cain. Their main goal detecting sin events, new exorcists, other rogue psychic phenomenon and psychics, and also the maintenance function and weaponry attached to Seraph. But they do
Yeah.
have a few more tricks up their sleeve, one being Heaven's Eyes. A group of
What?
specially trained precognitive psychics able to try and tell little bits of the future with a very low off rate. At least according to Seer, because if you look at the book and the fact you are actually going out on hunts, they are not detecting these things right away. Because all sins form from someone who has grace. Someone who's a potential exorcist. Which when your job is to detect sin events, psychic phenomenon, and potential exorcists, you're doing pretty bad if this has to happen. Now in some worst case scenarios, they also have the rail cannon. And a veil blanket memory. Essentially,
What?
Men in Black wise wiping or modifying the memories of a large-scale area.
And that's how they get around the "why don't people know about it" thing. The other one being, no, people know about it and they're terrified, which is sometimes a fun world to play in.
In case they had to mass destroy a building or something. Or a particular sin began to physically manifest where anyone could see it. And lastly, when things get really bad to the point that even the rail cannon's not going to help, you have virtues.
What?
Extremely powerful, cryogenically frozen, category 5 or 7 exorcists that are kept up within the Seraph Station and orbitally dropped. The title...
You have... Oh my god. So outside of rods from God, they actually have essentially super exorcist soldiers that they shoot from orbit. This is ridiculous and I love it. I'm being told that this is essentially, according to Shark Boy, a TTRPG, so similar to D&D, but way different. But just more depth compared to Malagash, which is the other Tom Bloom franchise. Yeah, that makes sense. This seems like there's an actual storyline here that you're playing through.
For these individuals called virtues, almost just deployed like a weapon, or the Eversor assassins,
Yeah.
or Helldivers, just coming down and...
I mean, a Helldiver is not exactly a high-level one. It's more like the expendable, they're going to have fun with it because we need to put the dead body somewhere.
Some kind of pod after being cryogenically frozen. Welcome to combat zone, crazy psychic ninja person. And also category 7 is called Demon God. I'm just gonna lay that here right now.
God damn.
We'll briefly touch on this chart when we get back to Blasphemies.
People, size, area, distance, speed, magnitude. 0, people, 1. Imp, people, a few. Geist, small group, large group, crowd, huge crowd, 1,000 people, many thousand people. Is this how many people they kill? Size, human. Skyscraper. Area, a whole town. Distance, over the horizon. Speed, jet fighter. Magnitude, cataclysmic. I have no idea what this means, but I'm assuming it gets bad.
And sins, but it's very powerful. Next up, a larger group of the 4, Temerity. Now, Temerity has the worst reputation out of the 4. This is namely because it's the research division.
Oh.
You know, whenever any secret organization, mad scientist, crazy reality-altering stuff has a research division,
I'm sure this is perfectly safe, and would it make me wish I was watching a Spyro Pyro video or anything like that? No.
That kind of tracks. But research into equipment, other kinds of countermeasure productions against sins and other psychic phenomenon, the initial
Human
training
testing?
of exorcists when they're first brought into Cain.
Oh.
One of the big ones being sin and anomaly imprisonment. So the whole initial motto of Cain, you know, until the stain is wiped away, kill all sin in these things, Temerity keeps them. Or at least
So they all hate him because they're not actually killing the sin, which is literally against the mission statement. And probably makes them the most fucked up people in the head because they kind of like it.
keep some of them. There's even one specifically named in the book called the Spindle, which is
What?
used by Temerity to help study time anomalies. The R&D department for the equivalent of fighting demons and also studying this psychic sea behind everything, you're gonna get some strange folks and secrets. And the initial harsh training of exorcists, even the exorcists aren't gonna like them. And
Oh, you see how he's progressively getting more beat up as it goes.
lastly, out of the 4 is
The
Castle.
GOC,
Now, this is
SCP
the one
branch?
you're going to be
Yes.
seeing the most, seeing as they're the one handling the boarding, maintenance, teaching, care of exorcists.
Oh,
Father
so
and
they're
mother
literally
to all of
handling the
exorcists,
non-human
handling their
assets.
deployment, being the admin on their missions, and handling the large martial arm of Cain, which
And they're either going to be the most humane or the least humane, depending on how you're playing it, probably.
doesn't just include the exorcists. You
What?
have the other mundane martial side of it that handles all their facilities and the actual just guard duty. But
Oh, so they actually have normal, non-magic psyker units. Oh.
outside of the exorcists and the psychically potent, you have the untouchables. People taken from the world's prison systems with specialized training and equipment to help them handle certain psychic phenomenon. Not actually being able to use it or be that great against it, but enough to be a body on the ground when exorcists can't get there right away.
And if they're taken from the worst prisons, they're probably people who have the entire, you're going to fuck up, you're going to die, and we're fine with it at this point, style of leadership.
Really high mortality rate amongst that bunch, but they also have some really neat armor. It's like a psychic hazmat suit. Castle being the last of the 4 out of Cain, and its entire martial wing, we have the exorcists. Back to what you're playing. But
Their art does go hard, though, man. Like, seriously, like, look at this and tell me it doesn't look
Entire
awesome.
martial wing, we have the exorcist.
This is just... We got the girl with the hammer and the slasher smile, someone with all the talismans on them, and then just random priest with a sword, man. In the bloody coat. The style on this goes hard.
Back to what you're playing. But outside of your initial training and the reinforcement of these psychic abilities, you have the 12 blasphemies. This is all
Oh,
the
they
fun
mentioned the
goodies
classes
and things
earlier.
you get to play with. There's psychic abilities which trail along the cat, or category. Which, you know, you
Yeah.
have this general human at 0 over here, you then have imp, some demons, and god, and even past that, demon god. Like I said, category 7 for virtue, that's a lot. That's a lot. Look down this list. That's a lot. But if you ever have a question on whether an ability can actually do something, just check this. That's what your general psychic ability does, and anything.
Oh, so that's people it can affect? One. People can affect probably many thousands of people. Magnitude, small. Magnitude, cataclysmic. Oh, so that's why it's individual stuff. Ah. So you're trying to find out the skill, how many people. Okay, so there's a scale you can work on there to figure out how good it is.
Booster enhances that, takes it up the scale. This also goes for the sins as well. They follow the same categorization. But don't worry, Cain claims there haven't been any sin events of level 7, because they say it would be world-altering. Now with that scale and the fact...
And they're probably telling you the truth, because every time that has happened, they've probably gone back and made sure it didn't.
Sins can also throw things
Time travel is a
that
bitch.
scale and effect around at you. You obviously need to do something back to them as well. In being able to handle all of that damage, we have tension. So this is the tank. This is the psychic barriers, the force field, but also using the force field as like a hard light blade. One of their passive abilities is taking enough damage to where you would go down or take an injury and just saying nuh-uh and going back to 1 stress.
Oh my god. So literally they just have determination.
Dense. We're talking about psychics here, but this is fireball.
Ooh.
Or more accurately, temperature, because you can also cool things down, both to extremes and both likely lethal. But I bring up...
Could you do both at the same time to make them incredibly brittle between them? I mean, it's technically how that works.
Fireball specifically because your passive ability is being able to take damage to the point of boosting your cat.
What?
Also, if you fail and die from this passive, you explode, guaranteed killing anything around you. Even sins. But you know, fireball. Now we have Flux, the manipulation.
So the fireball is not just a fireball, it's yourself as the fireball. I mean, if it's the end of a campaign, that might be worth it.
Of time. Your passive ability being nice things of just, you know, re-rolling dice, that's standard, but when you head into your other abilities, the other domains under your Blasphemy, this is where things get really funky. So some usual stuff, healing, slowing, advancing time, reversing it a bit. Some of these can cause paradoxes.
What?
And as you accrue paradox, you might accidentally unwrite yourself. At the very least, things are changing about you, because you are the anomaly in this. You're the center of it. This is also where the spindle is mentioned. When it comes to the actual logic of time travel, even Cain admits that they don't quite know it yet. It's just that spindle's helping them manage it. It's a bit
So in other words, they're doing their best, but they're also aware that if it really fucks up, they're kind of screwed. Which is why they wouldn't know if a 7 happened, because I thought it was going to be they fixed it, but it sounds like more, it's so powerful and so, oh god, what the fuck, that they wouldn't even know that it had happened because the world would have been changed.
timey-wimey, except time's going to stab you. Next up is Vector. This is just straight up telekinesis. Throwing projectiles, trying to fly, glide. Also, as a passive, stopping bullets hitting you.
What?
Basically, every projectile having a bunch of disadvantages trying to hit you as you stop it. Because it's not just throwing things, it's slowing them as well.
Oh, that's
now we
awesome.
Have Gate, where we had Flux saying screw time, this one is screwing space. As
What?
a fun passive, you have the equivalent of a bag of holding in any pocket you have, but also the equivalent of teleportation, not in the sense of opening a portal, well, one case, but the others being just, you happen to be standing. You were just always there. What do you mean you were across a room? No.
Oh my god, they actually went full on Schrodinger from Helsing. I kind of... Oh, you can play this so freaking fun! Oh... Depending on how okay a DM is with this, I would love to take every one of these and just play a different setting with these abilities because they're so abusable.
You were in the same location. If you like the Minotaur, yeah.
Minotaur?
Kind of that.
Oh,
Next
Lancer.
up we have Smother,
find
which
out
is
about
where
that
the
one.
line lie to God comes from.
What?
Because your whole shtick is censoring reality, or numbing it. It
What?
would remove the weight from something, allowing them to fly or be pushed around, or bringing heavy objects down to the equivalent of 1 pound. Or in some cases, just entirely removing something's recollection from all the psychic see, even your...
Could you remove the concept of time so it happened and didn't happen at the same time, or paradox? How much bullshit can you do with this?
yourself. So you're looking at a door, if you infect it with a certain ability, no one can recognize it's there, or that it's a door, or that it's something. They just see a vague thing that hurts.
If you go to one of the pyros who's about to blow themselves up and remove the concept of them blowing up, do they still get the damage without the dying? How much bullshit are you allowed to get away with?
To look at.
Like,
Now,
there
your passive
seems
is
like a
quite
lot of
simple,
leeway
similar
on
to
this one.
Ardent, so just boost your cat and the effectiveness of all of these. However, you run the issue that you begin to remove parts of yourself.
Oh.
Not purposely, but you just happen to. Leading in some cases described of just losing your entire head.
Oh.
Just gone. Whisper. Now, this one's the diviner. Different kinds of getting information, asking questions about the future,
Oh, that
different
is so
secrets.
creepy,
However,
Art
instead of
Wise.
just asking a vague, amorphous thing or just pulling this answer from the universe.
That is the creepiest art I've seen so far, man. Also, Croc, you mentioned a Japanese pilot said you always have one bullet. I just got that. Also, 1415. Schrodinger cow is mocking of using rules of quantum physics for a macro scale. Yeah, because the joke was it wouldn't matter because the only way to verify it is to find out. And it's a ridiculous thing. Except it kind of does work. I don't think it was, I know for a fact he did not mean it that way. It was meant to be ridiculous. It's kind of like saying, well, how do you find out if an apple pie is hot? By shoving your face into the oven. It works, but that's also dumb.
You have a shadow, a psychic manifestation that only you can see and interact with. You can always ask your shadow these questions. It knows the future. It's just that it hurts whenever you don't use one of your abilities. Also, no other psychic individuals can detect your shadow. It's only to the person who has it. It is something other than what sins are. It's a shadow. Now we have edit.
Wait, it's not psychic. Oh, that seems like such a loaded... Dude. And Nikazam mentioned this is basically getting everything as Mage the Ascension. Yeah, that makes sense. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if people take all of Cain as an inspiration to play their Mage because of a framework that technically would apply. In fact, that sounds awesome. I would love to do that.
This one, similar to Smother, instead of just censoring things, you're adding or changing. Your passive being almost a consistent shape change.
I saw the
However,
Zinch
you
token
always
in there.
look vaguely familiar or related to other forms. But fun things similar to disguises, changing your form, sharing this to other people, and also just replacing where an object is standing. You needed a weapon at this time? Well, a weapon just happened to be there. And
So it's like the person who did the telekinesis of I'm where I need to be or where I want to be, and now they think other things are where I need them to be.
it's not quite right, but it's there. Changing reality, just tweaking it a bit. We then move on to Bind, which is one of the few blasphemies Cain actually treats as a blasphemy. Because your passive is you have a small sin with you, one that's bound to you. A lot of your abilities revolve around buffing it, making it do certain abilities, but it's also just a small familiar. But you can imagine with the organization whose motto is until the stain is wiped away, isn't that happy with one just walking around. But expanding the abilities of said companion or sin, and then also having abilities to directly impact other psionic entities. Now with Palace, it's very much the whole Mind Palace.
Corporeal Palace manifestation by exorcist is still under investigation by Temerity. Oh my god. So it's like literally brain dimension.
Gimmick. But when it comes to people who are psychic, yeah, you have a literal mind palace. Not just a place to store information or memories, which you can actually take memories and information outside of your own mind, but during a rest, providing an actual place for people to meet mentally or recuperate.
So, that's actually incredibly stupid, and I love every second of this. So it's like, yes, come over to my place. This is probably why he referenced Persona 5 as the mind. Yeah, that would do it.
Can visit your mansion, and the servants within it can come outside.
Even.
But when it comes to passives, it's all about buffing the rest mechanic, or the rest state of a hunt. Jaunt. Now we have a bit of telepathy, usual just kind of messaging, mentally sharing emotions, or knowing where the other is. And then also just possession. Not just forming some kind of connection between two different individuals within this psychic sea, but it's also just inhabiting or manipulating where they are in that corpse, with also a random chance of just not being in your body by the end of it. It's even got an ability called Desecrate, which has a corpse talk. So that's fun. Sympathy.
Oh my God.
This one is objects.
What the
Not just in the sense of buffing an object or making it the equivalent of a magic item, though that's kind of it. It comes down to the weight that humanity puts on objects, the memories and feelings associated with them, and also the ones you don't really think about.
So I'm assuming there's probably an element of psychokinesis, knowing what they've done. But what else would it do?
Door is acting as the center of a threshold to everything, to the point that you can just ask it to remain closed or will it so. Or the use of objects just working out in your favor, and your passive being just rolling at the start of a hunt and seeing what object works, providing extra dice when using said object. You could have something useful like a weapon, shoes for running or moving around, and then you also just have a coffee mug. You do also have some other mundane abilities you can do when you level up called agendas, but when it comes to the main psychic powers and things you're going to be attacking with, that's the blasphemies. But now on to what you're fighting with these blasphemies. These things that you actually need to kill with such psychic power, these grand extremes, possession, tossing someone's corpse out, making a mind palace a physical place, fighting sins. Now sin it's...
Dude, is that the art of them? Oh, that is so screwed up. It's like an axe and literally blood axe with the flesh and the hands coming off it as like these tentacle wisps, and the admittedly very well-formed face on the more horrific body and the rib cage of flesh. Dude, yeah, the art style on this is absurd, man.
Now, sin itself manifests from an individual who could be an exorcist or someone with grace, usually one left undetected from seer, and that begins to spontaneously form after a traumatic event. This doesn't need to be a burst of an event or just everything bad happening at one time, but it can be a slow build up to an eventual snap, where instead of just a breakdown, it's actually just a psychic veil rupture and something forms. Now, while they can take many forms, there's certain categories they fall into and types that they
dude, like the face with the other face and the multiple hands, and there's probably a third one on the top for all I know.
They take the shape of. Now, they have 3 general forms they can take. These aren't the initial shape or the exact nature of what they look like or physically take up. One of them is, but it's more how they're physically interacting with the rest of the world, or the exact opposite of it. Type 1 being severed. They're separate from their host. They could still have some kind of relation tied to them, but if the host dies or they die, neither is affected. This entity spawns
They are their
from
own
the
thing.
host. A lot of the initial questions and traumas tied to its formation and its very nature are still relatively originating from the host, but not directly tied. So you could just accidentally create an entity and then just goes off to wherever. Type 2 is fused, so this one has either possessed the individual or just possessed a corpse. While not necessarily gigantic and monstrous, it is still a little more dangerous in the fact it can interact with the material world.
Oh, so the normal ones that go off can't interact, so even though there's probably a lot of them, and there's probably a bunch to hurt them, you don't really have as many clues to find them, you know they're not going to fuck everyone up directly. I'm assuming the third one is manifested then.
To varying degrees depending on the individual sin. But instead of just being something left in the psychic realm relying on cat and psychic abilities to interact with anything, this one you can actually physically touch things because you have a body. Also a bit harder to find because it has a human body. It's not an obvious six-armed monster somewhere, it's just a person. Or at least looks like a person. It is nothing like a person. And the third form they can take is bound. Now this one is quite dangerous, so it's an inversion of the previous 2 systems. So you have entirely separate, they don't care to each other, you have the demon has overtaken the host, and now you have the host overtaking the sin. Not a demon, a sin, but yes, this is a person, an individual, a human, someone with grace, a binder, but Cain says they don't exist, controlling and directly
closest thing to a named rival faction, kill all apes.
Connected to a sin. They are the dominant individual in that relation. They are not at the whims of its own corruption and the eating of flesh and space. They are controlling that consumption. The rarest
Some real enemy stand vibes, yeah.
of the bunch, and also one of the most dangerous, because you have someone that's not bound to the initial just instincts of a sin. While these more describe their relations to other individuals, their hosts, and how they can interact with the physical world, they can take whatever shape, especially if they're not the ones possessing, but just giant monster, something incomprehensible, a bit more animalistic, or also similar human-like. But all of them filter down into 6 types. The ones that form their palaces, the ones that have time to fester and become something and begin to manifest properly. And of these types, first we have Ogre. Now this one is despair and brute strength. It is a heavy, lumbering being that also makes you feel that despair and will make you
So it's the weight on your shoulders. That's why it's so big and lumbering. Yeah, that would do it.
Feel physical pain as well. But within its palace, this place that they hide away and corrupt the landscape of. Each of them eating away at that space, making it their own demi-plane, almost like Persona a bit. Because to finally kill a sin proper, you can injure it wherever you want outside of it, but it's going to go back to its palace. You need to kill it inside its palace to get it.
Yep, that's why I said Persona. It's literally, so you get a mind palace, which is something all the sins would get as well. Okay. You have to hunt it where it lives. So, yeah.
Any proper effect. But its palaces are usually a dingy, corrupted place, abandoned
and very much in their
lot,
favor.
This falling apart apartment building, fog forming around the location, everyone just feeling terrible. Great hulking, lumbering despair. Now the idol. This is the want to be wanted, the want to be loved, the lacking of any kind of physical touch or separate person wanting you to even exist.
And then all of the mouths and the legs and the arms behind it, showing the monstrous aspect.
Not quite succubi, but definitely cult leader. Most of its abilities being around influencing separate agents and different groups outside of their own domain.
Separate groups?
Individuals under them.
Oh!
So calling the authorities on you as one of their own abilities, or their palace being a place of influence, a fancy mansion, a place where the people at the center of all attention meet, as well as making you screw up. So the enchanter-esque, the Not quite succubus and just you're obsessed and loving me, but more that drive. A feeling of wanting to give up from the ogre previously. With the idol, it's bursts of emotions, wants, needs, desires. But no, mechanically, most of the time you're going to be fighting and killing the various cultists it has underneath it. Next is the Hound, which is pretty obvious. This one is born of vengeance. Revenge on a want for justice. This isn't just pure anger. This is wanting to get something back, an eye for an eye. This one also commonly crops up from post-mortem individuals. They can still come from people who are alive. But that
wait. So sin isn't just because it's an event sometimes. So being alive afterwards, which is probably, I wouldn't be surprised if this is most commonly the type 1, which was separate from the first person. Unless the type 3 would be a person survives their own death to get vengeance. That's kind of metal, actually.
Great sense of life being stolen or taken away unjustly. That can greatly form a Hound. And where the previous two have a lot of things messing with your emotion, your want to continue, or throwing further cultist bodies at you, the Hound just is going to kill you. One of its main abilities and attacks result in flaying. Its palace is a place that's basically a butcher shop. It's a terrible, horrifying mess. I mean, look at the images here. It's all horrifying.
Is that a neck? Oh, that's a tail and the head and the arms, and it actually seems a lot more like Cyberpunk now that I look at it.
Some of them xenomorph type stuff.
Yeah.
It's a killer.
It's like flesh Cyberpunk.
Similar to the others and similar with the rest. It'll also
Everything
make
is
you
a
feel
knife.
an emotion, some kind of desire. Instead of like wanting to give out your emotions or need or want from someone else, or that despair of the ogre just having you to give up and not continue, the Hound is anger. It's going to make you attack other people, leading you to violence, pushing you over that edge for any.
Oh, do they have like a headless horseman over here, and it's like literally walking and dripping blood on the highway underneath it?
Light transgression. And then again, just coming in to kill you or throw you into a pocket dimension where it can just fight you. Next up is Centipede. Whoa, not the best name for... Now, Centipede is the escapism through imagined death.
I'm sorry. The fuck? Imagined? Oh, it's zombies. It's zombies, isn't it?
So, you fantasizing about a post-apocalypse or a zombie apocalypse or some kind of disease outbreak and what you do. Separating itself from the...
Die horribly. I'm very much aware that I have no survival skills.
The ogre, which is just despair in general, and this is more just the want for escape, but as a result of just death. The destruction of the current system. That you can't exist outside of it, that you're not getting want, love, or attention inside of it, that it's just gone. And thus, it takes the form of that, an infestation, a corruption. Similar to the cultist one with the idol, you have the equivalent of zombies or infested. And a lot of other abilities to further infest you. It's an actual, almost disease, infection.
Oh, it actually attacks you as well that way. Oh.
Infestation, all of these things combine to form its own apocalypse.
Very buggy.
And also it takes the form of a giant centipede. That's already not nice.
Yeah, let's not do that.
Then move on to the toad. Now this is the want of...
Oh, that was a toad? Oh, you see like the mouth is the tongue. Oh, that is... Yeah.
Not necessarily in the sense of the idol or this obsession pursuing it or going for it. Again, all of these originate from a trauma, an absence. The ogre and centipede, a lack of hope. The hound, a lack of justice. The idol, a lack of love. And when it comes to the toad, it's a lack of wealth. Not in the sense of just hoarding it in this mass quantity, but debt. Suffering, starvation, homelessness. Pressure of bills, a house foreclosed on, a business failing, going bankrupt. These are the events that a toad forms around. And again, similar to the idol, it's giving you all of those things and...
So it's not so much the people who want it are greedy, it's that the people who have this are having it rubbed in their face that they can't. Or they don't have enough. Oh, that actually makes it a lot more horrible because that's actually empathetic. Smart on the people who designed it, I guess, Tom, to design it this way. Because instead of being, oh, these guys are just assholes, it's, oh, these people got fucked over and now they're obsessed with the thing that led to them being fucked over. That is actually the best way to implement a greed-based enemy because normally... Trench Crusade, for example, when you have the Mammon style, it's like, yeah, give me wealth. And it's like everyone's a little greedy, so it's all in there. But in this one, it's like, this isn't the people who love the greed. This is the people who got fucked over by the greed, so they are inherently empathetic. And you can actually feel for any of these enemies better. Still fight them, but depending on how you play it, there's a lot more to build off this. In fact, I would heavily recommend other people to steal this is how they interpret greed. By the people who are victims of it, not the people who are living it.
More.
It's kind of brilliant.
Wealth. It has a Midas touch. It's one of the ways it can kill you. Its palace, a place of grand luxury, fine hoarding of all its wealth and goals, banks, hotels, mansions. One of its abilities as well is just spitting back up things it's taken or things that it's summoned or conjured, giving you further motions and drives of greed. It's also described as the most confrontational or the most pompous, even when it comes to exorcists. Like where all the others, or the Hound might be animalistic but directly going after you, the idol hiding behind all their cultists, maybe wanting your attention. Toad is actively gloating at you, the whole villain monologue. Out of all of these, which are really sad or terrifying, the Toad seems the most fun.
Yeah.
I mean, look at this picture. That's just...
He's just chilling, doing it all. Oh my
and lastly
God.
is Lord, where it's not quite playing by the rules of all the others. So
What?
it still has all the rules of the previous forms and types, but when it comes down to its palace, its entire self is almost the palace. It's not really having to go retreat somewhere, it's always in the center of it, and it's always more than just the one location. It spreads out, sometimes taking up entire chunks of cities.
Oh.
It's bad enough. But this one is driven through fear. The want to escape, the want to flee, the want to hide, self-gaslighting, not willing to face the truth of a situation or the reality, and thus it forms an escape, trapping its host and anyone around within a separate pocket realm to help further comfort and lie to the host. And when it comes to its abilities, it is fighting you almost the whole way through.
And if it's lying to the host, so in many ways, this is the one that's actually trying to be benevolent in the least helpful way possible, huh?
Just by manipulating the entire palace itself and what
Kingdoms is the region around a lord's palace. Oh, okay.
you're dealing with. Able to change the time period, the rules of the situation. Maybe modern equipment just can't exist in whatever it's fabricated,
that'd be
so
the
thus
rules
it
then, yeah.
changes back to something previous. Your walkie-talkies now pigeons, just taking all your useful equipment, gone. And also in more direct attacks, just erasing you. Again, that phrase of eating flesh in space. But the Lord is a boss fight where the layer is the boss. But those are the main types of sins, the ones that...
So the layer... Oh, okay, I see. So in this guy, you're fighting the Toad, but it's like the villain monologuing, while the guy that formed them is just having it rubbed in the face what they don't have. And the Lord, though, is probably the really dangerous one, because you're not fighting the Lord itself. You're fighting getting to the guy who's being held hostage in the center, essentially. That could be brilliant, but I think on a sheer play level, this is more of a, you're writing a story at this point and rolling against environmental effects, trying to get to something ever more elaborately fucked up. I could see this working better as a narrative based around the system or using the system, but who knows? Maybe a DM, Felix from Dingo Doodles, would be able to use this to the absolute most torturous way possible. Especially if you just give people a bunch of good things and then nerf them right afterwards. It's dickish, but useful.
Have all the fancy kits, the different domains, the different abilities they can place, the palaces. But that's not to say that there aren't other enemies you as an exorcist are going to face. You've got your usual mundane stuff, like different bits of authorities you might accidentally bump into, mercenaries either knowing of this psychic stuff or just bumping into you in private corpse, and cultists. You know, that's always there.
Cultists.
Cultists are there. You also have things that exist within that black psychic sea that aren't sins necessarily. Those are called drifters. Entities that are creepy, not wanted, very concerning, and I don't like that one. But just as the name implies, they usually come in and then disappear. More of an unknown and not directly correlating with the sins, or an individual with grace. But also in this camp, there are manufactured sins. Different organizations similar to Cain that have been typing into psychic phenomenon and capabilities, and some have figured out how to manufacture sins.
Because if you can do it on purpose, you can find a way to weaponize it and then make money.
None of them to the scale of those 6 different types previously, but still enough to be able to have some kind of summon on that plane of existence. But one of the more dangerous types of properly formed sins are the imago. Sins born of a trained exorcist. One that has taken multiple sin marks that have been burdened with mutation and different aberrations within the black psychic sea. Tainted by attacks from certain sins, their own abilities overwhelming them, they turn into an imago. Their entire physical form, not just manifesting somewhere separately, dying or then being possessed.
So it's literally this exorcist themselves being turned into a sin.
But all it fusing and changing at the same time. Again, not like a sin that's made separately from a person with grace, but
It
the
is
sin
being
seed itself
overtaken by it.
properly forming and taking hold. The entire being now a psychic entity. Also your previous colleague likely. Usually will try to flee and will form into one of the other 6 types. The dangerous part is they're trained to these blasphemies, your techniques, and also have a bit more thinking outside of the initial instinct a sin has. They can
So in other words, it's a smart enemy that knows how to do things, knows your way to work, probably knows you if they're that there still.
prep and plan and know you. But all those things
And I'm going to take a wild guess. Those virtues are people who probably pulled themselves back from becoming imago.
Separately are what you're here to hunt. You are an exorcist. You are a tool used by Cain to wipe away the stain. You are one of the few people blessed or cursed with grace, a sin seed formed
Definitely
within your
cursed.
own head, trained and refined to be a tool of destruction, a killer, an exorcist. While most humans will go out and if they witness a sin properly, suffer immediate brain hemorrhaging, dying, falling unconscious, you are the one standing on that front line. You are going out there to take them down, walking directly into their palace where space and time are being eaten alive. And if you
And I'm assuming most of them either die to sins or die by becoming a sin through imago. There's probably no happy ending here.
you're not careful, you will follow suit. So go out there into the world, the
Dying might be
sickening
the better option.
miasma of all of human existence. All their thoughts, memories, wants, desires, emotions, stewing within a black pool, forming these cancerous growths. Humanity's sin, wipe away the stain, as above, so below.
Dude. Outro chat?
Thank you for watching the video, and man...
Cain looks
so
intense,
about 30
man.
minutes of footage, just
And ironically, that is probably one of the coolest settings I've seen that I would almost want to have as more of a story, like actual narratives based around this, than gameplay itself. Because it feels like there is so much that could happen here. Finding out what's going on and then just absolutely destroying someone's entire party in a way they don't expect. This feels more like modules in this would be more impactful than any other system, because there's going to be that reveal in there of, yeah, and then this happened and you're all fucked and you're going to die. How do you die and how far do you get to find out what's going to go on? That seems like it would be the reward there. And oh my god, it's just so freaking cool, man. I can see why people wouldn't like this, because it's dark. It's fucked up. But it's dark and fucked up in a way that has a lot of potential for storytelling, to tell those dark, gritty stories, to tell those things of this is how bad it could get. Which is essentially why I kind of like SCPs, even though I cannot do horror to save my life. I like things that draw from horror to build up the environment. Like, put me in a scary situation where the scare is the entire point of it, I will freak out and probably need a change of pants. Put me in a situation where there's something we gotta do, but there's something really scary surrounding it, I actually kind of love it. I'm weird. I'm aware of that. And I'm pretty sure most people here are aware of that at this point as well. This feels like they probably did this right before Kill 6 Billion Demons, because the guy who made this made that, and it feels like they finally tapped into their, oh, this would be great as a story, and they finally told the story moment. And again, Kill 6 Billion Demons is actually a really cool story that I think is just kind of awesome. Need to get around to actually finishing reading it. I did tons of spoilers on it. It seems like a really cool setting and a really cool series of books that I can never seem to find. That's more my own personal problem than anything else, because the bookstores near me are just kind of picked over. And I could go online, but I just don't like doing it. It's not nearly as fun. What I'm basically saying is, if you haven't already, there's a link below to Zaktact's video. Hit it up, because this was freaking cool, man. And I might end up having to watch Lancer later, because he did a cover of that as well, and it's made by the same guy, and it's probably going to be just as metal, but a giant robot's involved. And apparently a lot of other things are even crazier. This would be awesome. And one last mention from Croc mention, and now imagine a DM who turns one of the players mid-boss fight into imago. Even better if he's in on it and knows he's a second phase boss fight. Oh, that is brilliant. Literally, that has to be one of those, either surviving is a win for the players and it's the end of the game, or you wanted to go out because you have a new character in the wings and you worked with the DM to do something really cool. That would be awesome. I've done things similar to that in games before, but it wasn't intentional. It was more just the players ran with it because it was a rule of cool. But playing it out, that would be so cool, man. And it's part of why I think this system, I would love to take this and just use the World of Darkness gameplay to run in this system, and just to see, okay, shit happened, we're going to find out. That seems like it would be the best way possible to introduce this. Oh, I think this would be awesome, man. So again, links below. Hit it up. Subscribe to this guy. Leave likes. Just do that, man. I'm probably going to check out his other stuff as well. This was awesome. And for everyone else, thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Adios.